Welcome back, everybody, to the Vintage Super League. My name is Aaron Campbell. I am here with the great Kevin Cron. How are you, sir?
Wow, great. I don't feel so great at the moment given my recent performance, but I'll take it. I'll take
I'm
it.
just trying to soften you up a little bit. So,
I respect that.
so how about that last game?
Wow. So it's really interesting. Obviously, I felt like I was strongly advantaged being on the play with her more and having a ton of mana, right? And I think Randy would probably agree. Here's the problem: you have to draw cards that matter after that.
Yeah,
And you may have noticed that my first four like non-mana producing cards were counter spells.
yeah,
And that makes you feel okay until you realize that if you don't end the game in time, Randy was actually he was kind of almost, I wouldn't say deterministically, but he was favored to win actually from that end point. As soon as he starts that last turn, he has more counter spells available to him. I can't counter enough of his spells to matter, and it doesn't matter. As you saw, eventually I could put my whole deck into my hand, and I only had three counter spells left, and he had
yeah,
more than that. So
yeah,
I knew I was dead as soon as he went for the first outcome.
yeah. A lot of what Andy and I were talking about was sort of the inevitability. Randy's plan of trying to exhaust you of counter spells, but also you having that inevitability of drawing only cards from Aurora. You already have one half of Key Vault. How long can you stall before you find the other piece? And so I feel like both of you did a good job of creating that tension of the standoff and who's going to go first.
Yeah. Well, I did my best, and it just turns out that Randy had inevitability, as you said, and so I feel a little bad about it. I definitely played conservatively. I'm guessing that you and Brassy noticed that I had access to Time Walk, for example, in my hand, which I decided
Mhm.
to hold. I figured I was dead if as I conducted that turn, I figured I was dead if he was holding Fluster, and he just flustered my walk and then went off. Unfortunately, because I had to spend my Mind Break trap so early on the Comball fight, which was agonizing because I drew Caracas like 2 turns later. Um, it's just one of those things. Like you've got these good answers for their threats, but you have to draw them in the right order. Vintage, like most Magic, is still a matchup game. And if I'd been holding Caracas when he announced Comball, I think I win that game
Yeah,
basically because
yeah,
I just let that Comball resolve. He casts some spells, I counter him, go low on life, bounce Comball. It's all over for him.
yeah, absolutely. All right, guess the players are ready. Let's get down. All right, welcome back, everybody. We are here with Randy versus Andy. Enlightened Painter versus Paradoxical Storm. Who are you rooting for in this one, Kevin?
Well, I always want to see the most possible people in the playoff scrum, so I think I prefer to see Andy win this one so he gets into the playoff picture.
Okay.
Also, I always want to see Andy's brews do well. He and I are kindred spirits in that respect.
Absolutely. I know I was the most excited to see Saffron join the this year because I know if you put Saffron Olive, if you let him loose in vintage, it'll be like a bull in a china shop in the best way. And so I was really eager to see what he was going to do.
Yeah, I agree completely. So again, Randy being on the play here matters a whole bunch. So he not only gets to see the Lavinia in Andy's hand, but also the configuration of counter spells, and he knows that and he has double force. He has access to double force, so he
Yeah.
knows he can't basically afford to run out this mentor here.
And Andy also can't cast the Lavinia quite yet.
Yeah. So Randy knows he has a little bit of time. Granted, Andy could pull one of a handful of accelerants off the top to facilitate that turn one Lavinia.
Yeah.
Randy's towing a line here with respect to Dak Faden as well.
Going for the
Okay, so
turn one mentor.
he's gonna make Andy make a tricky choice here,
Yeah.
which I can respect.
So Andy got rid of Dak, which is interesting because he can actually cast Dak, but I think he values Lavinia more in this matchup.
Yeah, and he was rewarded because there's the fetch land he needed to cast Lavinia next turn. He wisely conceals that information from
Yeah.
Randy. This is a misstep check from Randy here, just in case the top card of Andy's deck was misstep.
That was a
But he
card
know,
I used to get baited on a lot when I first started playing Vintage. I was misstepping all the people were like, and I learned very quickly you don't always want to do that.
yeah, yeah. The best use of misstep is the right use of misstep, and that's an ambiguous concept.
It's very true.
So Randy's bummed out here. Oh, he drew the white mana source for Lavinia. Might as well announce this ancestral since he knows he's free from Pyroblast, but Now Andy has
Speaking of
this force of
recall, I
will.
was rooting for you to kill him with a recall that game. I was like,
Thank you, appreciate that. Randy and I both knew we had Flusterstorm, and we didn't want to try and make Magic Online do the gymnastics necessary to resolve that stack.
oof.
So I just put the other spell on the stack that was more entertaining.
Okay.
And oh, this is agonizing for Randy here.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing the Mox Opal, he still has access to Mana Vault, but he only has one land in place, so the 3 and 4
Yeah.
mana spells in his hand are just stranded for quite a while, apparently. Oh, now we see what he's looking at. Looks like Lotus Petal, Repeal, and a Tundra.
The Tundra would get Randy closer to being able to cast these spells, but
Yeah, I think he wisely put it on top.
yeah.
Of course, he's going to have a problem resolving that Tundra in the face of the Pyroblast. I'm sorry, Repeal in the face of
Yeah.
Pyroblast and Force of Will. But he's
Although if
fighting the
Andy,
good fight.
oh sorry, I was gonna say if Andy gets a painter out, he can Pyroblast the Tundra.
Which would be a reasonable play in combination with
Absolutely.
Lavinia.
I have been that petty painter player before. I've just
Oh, Tendrils. Tendrils, no. Get out of my hand
mm-mm.
until I absolutely need you. Randy's in the unenviable position of just sitting against Lavinia with mono uncastables in his hand.
Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
Andy with Gush, Force, and Pyroblast.
It's pretty strong.
Yeah, so even if Randy cobbles together the resources, Andy's just ready for him. And that Lavinia can close out the game just by herself.
Interesting tension for Andy here in that he could hardcast Gush, but put shields down for both of his other counters
Yeah.
on Randy's end step. I don't think there's much impetus to do that.
No, not at all. If I'm Andy, I feel like I have Randy in a good place where I don't feel the need to go there.
Yeah, agreed.
But I've also never cast a Gush before, so I'm probably not the girl to ask. But
It grows on you. I wouldn't recommend starting. It's a gateway drug. Before you know it, you'll be casting Preordain and Snapcaster
oof,
Mage,
I don't know about all that.
right? Now
Then I
Andy's
gotta.
at a bit of a crossroads here. Now he can put Gush and Pyroblast onto the stack at the same time with his 6 mana.
Mm,
He may or may not be compelled to do any of that right now. Conservative line here, it looks like. Andy could definitely fetch and pull up 2 islands to Gush. His mana curve in his deck is so low that he's not going to be punished for having only 4 mana.
yeah.
But he takes the longer term line. Now Randy's going to look again. Please, third card, be a land. It is not. This is how I felt facing Andy's Lavinia in our match. As soon as
Yeah.
she came down, 100% of the cards I drew were uncastable.
That was my game against Rachel.
Yeah.
One of our had her 2-card Monty hand. I believe it was it. It was turn 1, and then she was on the play, and she slammed
Mm-hmm.
turn 1 Lavinia, and immediately my hand was just irrelevant, and I was like, well.
Yeah, Lavinia has that effect on games. Here we see Andy taking a tiny risk. Like he's cut himself off a Force of Will on this end step here, but I don't think they're actually cards that Randy has that truly
Drew
punish him.
Blightsteel.
Wow.
Oof.
Yeah. Lavinia keeping the clock ticking. It's still not a fast clock,
Yeah.
but it matters.
It definitely does, especially with Randy kind of working on those top activations.
Mm-hmm.
This is fine. Like if I'm Andy, I'm still feeling really good about my position.
Agreed. I think this favors Andy. It's worth noting too that once Randy finally finds like that third land he's looking for, Andy now has his next 2 spells on lockdown.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like 2 turns added to the clock.
Yeah. And Brainstorm Fetch, being able to filter and making sure he always has gas.
And get rid of that Blightsteel.
Yeah.
Hey,
Brainstorm
is
in
that
and
a
of
land?
itself. Yeah.
It is. Pluto Delta for Randy.
Yay.
And now he's got to try and estimate what are the odds that any of these spells resolve. So this third land gives him access to Yawgmoth's Will, which is really no help at the moment. Well, wait a second.
He can
Okay.
also
He could
cast the
recast
repeal,
Mentor and
yeah?
Ancestral. Yeah, that's not terrible. But he's probably going to go the repeal route first.
Yeah.
Given that Andy has not put a Pyroblast onto the stack yet tonight, I'm guessing that Randy's probably made him for a Pyroblast in hand.
Yeah. Brainstorm is like Gush in that it's one of those cards that people have written a lot of articles about. I remember when I was putzing Ant and Legacy, I could do the Dark Ritual thing. Like I could easily chain them and get my chain going. But honestly, the hardest part about learning the deck was learning about, Ponder and Brainstorm and how you don't always just want to fetch when you fetch. You want to save it for your brainstorms. And then if you have a brainstorm and a ponder, what do you cast first? And like it's a whole art form, these blue spells.
Absolutely. And I enjoy the fact that the art form is slightly different across Vintage and Legacy, given the restrictions, right?
Yeah.
Legacy players can reliably expect to chain their brainstorms and ponders together, and so there's a different kind of art to managing that card flow. It's really satisfying.
It's also really weird when you're used to playing Vintage and then you go back to Legacy and you're like, and everybody's running 4. It just
So
Andy's hand is so good.
this mental misstep might never have a target by the time the game's over.
2 pyros, 2 forces, a misstep, and a DT.
If I'm Andy, I think I'm DTing for something here.
He did shuffle away the Blightsteel, didn't he?
He did. So he could put Tinker onto the stack with a Pyro and a Force back right
I
now.
like
That's
that.
probably good enough to win.
Yeah.
He knows that Randy's out to Lavinia in the main really is just the 2 repeals. And he
Hmm.
can counter 2 repeals right now.
Yeah.
Granted, Randy could he could have Monastery Mentor, but that's already in the graveyard. He could have a
Hmm.
Snapcaster Mage, which would be really inconvenient for Andy.
Yeah.
But if he had one, it probably would hit the stack several turns ago.
Yeah.
What did we get? Painter's Servant.
Painter.
Interesting. A safer play. Ah, you know what you said about 5 minutes ago?
Is he going to destroy his lands?
Totally reasonable play with Lavinia. There it is. Tundra is blue.
Oh. And he's going to, oh, yes.
Vindicate. Look at that.
Oh, my goodness.
Stone Rain.
That is good.
You thought Stone Rain was too good for standard at 2R.
I
How
love
about
it.
just R?
Mm.
All right, so
Huge
repeal will
setback for
obviously,
Randy.
yeah, it really is. Repeal goes onto the stack here. It's funny. I think Andy has an interesting kind of tension. Once this repeals on the stack, he could force it, uh, obviously, or he could pyroblast it. If he chooses to force it, it leaves him access to another Stone Rain right now. Yeah, I think he's gonna rock another Stone Rain.
Yes.
Let's see. I think actually, I think if he Stone Rains that right there, Randy's just cold.
3-turn clock between the painter and Lavinia.
Right? Again, he does have to watch out for Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah.
But now every card he draws pitches to Force of Will, so he's guaranteed backup double counter right now.
Randy goes down to
Sure enough, no
6.
Snapcaster makes Andy feel good.
Yeah. Nice ponder.
Yep. Ponder wasn't the worst draw there for Randy.
Yeah.
Time Twister, Preordain, and
Ooh,
Sensei's Divining Top.
yikes.
Castable cards.
Yep.
He shuffled, I guess, because that Force of Will wasn't the 3 of them. One of
Yeah,
the 3.
Andy, because the painter named everything blue, Andy can also just pitch everything Andy draws can be pitched to the force.
Right. He was guaranteed, yep. That Force of Will was the last thing Randy wanted to draw right there.
Oh, because he can't even cast it. Oof.
Mm-hmm. Oh, another Stone Rain. This hardly seems fair.
Randy has a family.
Oh, we thought your deck was savage. Look at this mono Stone Rain build.
I'm here for it, though.
Hey, Snapcaster Mage.
All right.
Too little, too late, I'm guessing, but
Get him. Randy at 3.
uh-huh.
I mean, if I were Andy, I would destroy the land. But I don't know that I could help myself. It would be
Yeah. Yeah, if he'd Stone Rained last turn, this Snapcaster Mage wouldn't have even been an out.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. He can still cast creature spells. Sorry.
Yeah.
Creatures get to violate Lavinia's first clause, so to speak. The Pyroblast is an easy choice here. Randy is tapping some mana in response.
All
I don't know
right.
why. Wow. So, Brassman's land destruction deck comes together.
I love it. Okay, so if you're these guys, what are you bringing?
Well, Randy's got to treat this basically as a control matchup. So, this is really interesting. He is bringing in defense grid. That's the big question mark, the big pivot point in his sideboard
Yeah.
is if you want to be the defense grid deck, then now he's just mono combo.
Hmm. What are your thoughts on? You see that Andy has ley lines and Grafdigger's Cage. What are
Mhm.
your thoughts on bringing in Graveyard Hate against decks that have Yawgmoth's Will? How do you feel about that?
Ultimately, I think it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Only if you have incidental graveyard hate do I like it, like Deathrite
Okay.
Shaman, for example. If it's already part of your plan, then, but I just don't think it's worth it. Unless you're the sort of deck who's really cold to something like Dark Petition Storm, where they're very graveyard focused and you don't have
Hmm.
good other plans, then I can see supplementing your outs with Leyline potentially. But Andy's not that kind of list, right? He's got extra counter spells. He's got extra shatters in the board. He's kitted out for this 4 Pyroblasts main. I don't
Yeah.
think he needs to go that far.
Yeah. I think if he was on the Helm plan too, like if he was like straight to card Monty of like Painter and Helm, I might just kind of, I mean, you'd have to leave them in
Yeah.
regardless, but I think there's an argument for that. But because he is more of he's not going in as hard on that combo, yeah, I don't think it's good either. The cage I don't hate. I love the Rakdos charm though. That is a neat.
Oh, that card is so cool. I'm so glad he
Yes.
got to use it. Interesting that only one Shattering Spree is part of Andy's plan here. I really like max Shattering Sprees against Outcome.
Yeah. I also Rakdos charm. If Randy were to get Monk happy, I mean Rakdos charm that 1 damage to his controller, that would be hilarious.
Absolutely. I would like to see Rakdos Charm get a kill tonight.
That used to be a thing when Splinter Twin was around. You would always get those Splinter Twin players that would just assume you were going to scoop. And it's like, I'm sorry, I need to know exactly how many copies you're making. And they're like, oh, 57. And you're like, great, Rakdos
Great.
Charm.
I need to know exactly how much damage I'm about to do.
Exactly.
All right, Randy's on the play here.
Okay.
Mind's Desire.
Caracas.
Caracas is a welcome sight in his opening hand. Triple
Mm-hmm.
Mox plus Outcome means, hey, might as well go for it, right?
Sure.
He's going to get Force of Will, but that Force is going to leave Andy's hand pretty sparse.
Yeah.
Randy doesn't know that, but I still think it's the right aggressive play.
Mm-hmm. It paid off for him in the game against you, I believe, where he kind of called your bluff
Absolutely.
and it worked.
This is, I think, well, I don't know how this game's going to go exactly, but we're positioned to see one of the major downsides of Mind's Desire, and that is it's really hard card to maximize once you've invested a number of resources into your board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have to believe this position favors Andy pretty strongly. Randy needs to basically find another outcome.
Randy can't dig his way out of this with that top now.
Absolutely. Top is good at the long game.
Yeah.
And Andy doesn't really have a way to punish him either.
No.
And with this draw, I mean, yes, he could fast combo him with Painter Grindstone, but okay, there's clearly a Night's Whisper. Looks like Dig Through Time and a Mox, I'm guessing. It's exceedingly tiny on my screen. Dig Through Time, he doesn't have the mana for, of course. Night's Whisper is kind of nice. He could, yep, there you go. He could draw into it. And he can replay his top this turn off Caracas if he wants. This is pretty good card flow for Randy here. Oh, Mana Crypt was the other card. Okay. So, astute viewers will note that Randy's up to 5 mana in play. He could desire once he finds another blue source, but he has the trick of trying to find more storm.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Once again, Andy with turn 2 Lavinia. Oh, Caracas. Sorry.
Yep.
Caracas says, don't cast your Lavinia. Hey, Academy really facilitates this dig through time. That's nice.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if Randy was especially aggressive with it. I think it's wise to leave it on top of his library, so he can top into it should Andy do some tap out shenanigans when he thinks he's safe.
Somebody asked a good question in chat. How does Lavinia interact with mines?
Yeah, Lavinia completely punished his Mind's Desire because all the spells cast off of the Desire are cast for free. So she would counter every single one of them.
Awkward.
Yeah. Pretty rough for Mind's Desire.
Yeah.
It's unlike Tendrils, which simply places copies of itself onto the stack. Those are not being cast. But with Desire, exiling the cards, you have to go through the stack to cast them. She counters all of them.
Mm.
Interesting. So Randy is prepping for a storm count of 3 on his Mind's Desire here.
Okay, and I mean Lavinia's not out,
5,
so
6,
I wonder
7,
if
8,
he
9,
knows
10,
how it
11.
works like that with that card. Like,
I'm guessing he does.
okay.
It's interesting to count the mana here. He needs 6 for Desire, which means he doesn't have enough for Dig and Desire.
Yeah.
I think he may have miscounted thinking that he was. Oh, he had exactly enough.
Andy
Oh,
says
he had
no, sir.
exactly enough. I was worried he miscounted, but the Mana Crypt gave him exactsies. So this Desire for 3 is gonna be pretty tepid. Oh, sorry, 4 thanks to the Pyroblast. He was probably
Yeah.
counting on the Pyroblast.
All right, here we go.
Kind of a high variance play here.
Land, opal, land, and a probe. Oof.
Come on, Probe. Come on, dealer. One
Get
time.
there. Randy's probably looking at that Lavinia like, I'm glad I did that now.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, we've got the sweat here. Oh, Lotus Petal. That doesn't say paradoxical outcome on it. And Randy's sadly already played a land this turn, so Scalding Tarn's gone forever. Not that that was the difference maker here.
Yeah.
Randy committing Lotus Petal to the board because he sees the writing on the wall with Lavinia.
More like
It's a good
mine's
play.
lack of desire, am I right? Just...
Yeah, right? Mine's distraction. Interesting call for Andy here. Obviously, he can play every card in his hand, at least some combination of them.
Yeah.
Lavinia looks pretty unattractive when your opponent's empty-handed like this.
Dak Faden, though.
Guessing Andy wants to get rid of this Mana Crypt in his hand. Oh, he can gush. If he wants, he can gush.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to. He's taking a Mox? I find that very surprising. Given that
there might be an argument for discarding or getting rid of the Lavinia, too. I mean, Randy has 3 lands now. I mean...
Yeah. It does cut him off of outcome for the moment.
Yeah. But
if
Randy
Randy
with the
top decks
Caracas,
exactly
too, it just...
outcome here. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Lavinia.
I might be willing to try... Oh, they speak of the devil.
Look at that. Look at that.
Here we go.
Ball game. We got a game again. Outcome for 6. Pretty good.
And he's going to try to gush his way out of this.
Wow.
Oh! Pitching that Lavinia.
One good top deck deserves another.
Lavinia's still doing work, just not in the conventional sense.
That's right. She could have been a mono white card, but no. She had to be blue white, so we all get to pitch her to force. Wow, fascinating.
Mm.
Now Andy's got Vamp plus Dak, so he can tinker this turn if he wants. That seems like a strong play.
Yeah.
Hey,
Randy has
Randy
no
on one.
cards in hand.
We got one draw step again.
He can't Caracas it.
There it is.
There it is.
Sure enough. Well, Randy has top decked himself into business one turn. Let's see what he's got for this next one. Now, I don't know how many Hercules recalls he has at the moment post side,
Mm.
but he certainly, I'm guessing he has a few still.
He didn't have a hard time finding him against me, that's for sure.
That's for sure. He had 3 in his opener against you. Um, yeah, that was pretty strange. I think he boarded out at least one, so he may be
Mm,
down to just 1 or 0. Let's see.
okay.
Mm, Black Lotus. Randy finally gets his comeuppance. So it'll be on to game 3.
All right.
I'm always
No,
interested
that's
to
gonna be
see.
Andy's gonna take the match.
Oh, I'm
Isn't it?
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're done. We're done.
Yeah.
So Andy has moved into the playoff picture, and now Randy he's still going to have a bye, I believe, into the quarters at 2-1
Mhm.
tonight at 5-1 overall. But now you and I get to play an exhibition match.
Oh, man. It's always a pleasure facing you. I don't get to do it nearly enough.
Yeah, agreed completely. And your deck has been giving you awesome hands tonight. Let's see if it continues that pattern and lets you demolish me.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.